Here's a quick overview of how we can structure an investment management process. This applies equally to venture capital, venture studio models, private equity, running a family office, having an incubator or an accelerator, running an innovation program at a larger company, or dealing with entrepreneurs in residence, even having a catalyst cohort. It all falls into the same pattern and the same approach that we think of as investment management. Let's start with a model of agility in general. I want to thank Ari Shinozaki for introducing me to this concept. We start with some kind of generic activity. At the top is the strategy cycle, and at the bottom is the production cycle. We start by deciding what we're going to do, create a plan, and we hand it off to the production team. They make their own plan for operations, do the work, provide some analysis and reporting, and hand it back up to the strategic team, who does their own analysis and decides what to do next. Each phase of the cycle has its own processes and approaches and things that we need in order to get it done. Let's look at this in the context of investing. It starts with a strategic team that defines the investment theses, finds deals, figures out what they want to look at, and hands it off to the due diligence team. That group plans the due diligence, assembles all the documents, and then puts them together in some form of analysis or recommendation, hands it off to the strategic team, who does their own process and decides what to do. In the larger context, it starts with investing, and we have all the things we just discussed. And then there's an onboarding process, and we hand it off to the operations group. This also has strategy and production. The strategy we tend to think of as asset management, and the production is really the core operations handled by the management team. We allocate resources, set strategic goals, hand it off to the management. They do their planning, they do the work, and they report back up to the asset managers or the board, who again decides what to do. We can think of the bottom portion here as being handled by the management team. Eventually, a decision might be made to sell or divest, and we have a very similar process that looks a lot like the investment side of things, except occasionally, depending on the deal, we may have brokers involved. If we're going to execute effectively, we have to figure out all the things we need at all the different parts of this process, including the things we need when we decide to onboard or divest of something. Putting all this together is the process in front of us. At any point in the cycle, we can look at a specific thing and say what we need. For example, we need an investment committee agenda, or we might need an onboarding checklist or a way to assign a mentor or asset manager. Maybe we're reviewing capabilities or setting strategic roadmaps, budgeting, comment response for social media. What kind of performance metrics are we looking at? Let's have a board book template, a deal status report, or a listing agreement, or retention agreements for important employees. There's a lot of work to put this all together, but once we do, we'll have a very solid investment management process.